He says, I've been working as a virtual assistant for a while now, handling a mix of tasks like social media support, email management, research, content repurposing, and some light creative work, mostly working as a freelancer. However, during freelancing journey, also got hired by 2 different agencies, which provided me with steady ongoing work. But unfortunately, they shifted towards some other work, so back again to freelancing. I've been searching for some good agencies that can provide with constant work or clients. Tried using LinkedIn, Facebook, and Reddit. However, no success. Being agency owners, what would you recommend? Where to start? What am I doing wrong? How to approach an agency to get hired permanent, or at least get constant outsourced work? How many sales calls are you getting on in a day? How are you setting them? What do you do to set more calls in between your scheduled calls? Hey everyone, I'm running meta ads for one of my home services clients. We started in August and the ads killed it for about 3 weeks. We slowed down within the last week, so I replaced creatives. Our funnel is meta ad to lead form. The new creatives did well for a few days and dropped off. What's weird is the CTR and Link click-through was still high. So about 5 days ago, I edited my form and reduced a few questions and any friction points. I added some new ad creatives to the mix, and the same thing. We had a good first 3 days, and then so it dropped off, and now we haven't had a lead in 3 days. What's weird, once again, is that the CTR, the Link CTR is high, so we're getting clicks and engagements, but no leads for some reason. I'm using the same offer and ad copy we ran in pretty much the same form, which is one less question. The audience is the same too. I'm really stuck on what this could be and how I can fix it. Has anyone experienced this? How do I fix it and get out of the slump?
Yo, it's Frankie Fihn. Beach mode engaged. Looms loaded, AI's humming. Let's go!
Shout out, by the way, to Lana for getting me this awesome shirt. Welcome back, everybody, to another Agency Owners Weekly Q&A. You guys are asking smart questions. I'm the degenerate here trying my best to give you guys good, helpful answers that will help you guys ultimately not necessarily be successful, because you guys are the determining factors in that, but hopefully make less mistakes, do it faster, those kind of things. For those of you guys who don't know me already, my name is Frankie Fihn. I wrote 2 best-selling books on this whole agency game. Have also grown 3 of my own agencies over 20 years, and I've helped thousands of people like you out there to do this. More beach, less laptop goodness. Quick little announcement just before we get rocking and rolling. I have been working on like a mountain of tools to make agency life easier, faster, better, quicker, like swipe files for literally everything. And for those of you guys who have not already checked out our Wolfpack Mastermind or our Fast Starters program, you should. And there's a link to talk with our AI agent about working together, which is just a way you can find out what may be a fit for you. They don't sell you. They're just agents that are programmed to give you information about what might be useful to you or not, depending on what you're trying to do. So if you want, click that link below and check that baby out. Have a little convo. And I'll see you on the other side of that. Anyways, let me take a swig of the old agua, some water, and we'll get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Fihn proudly brings you our weekly Q&A. With the man they call the man, the greatest of all time, His Holiness with the golden dad guns, Frankie Fihn. All right, I'm hyping myself up enough. Let's get into the real shit. Name is Abdraman. I hope I'm saying that right. Probably butchering it. But he says, I've been working as a virtual assistant for a while now, handling a mix of tasks like social media support, email management, research, content repurposing, and some light creative work, mostly working as a freelancer. However, during freelancing journey, also got hired by 2 different agencies, which provided me with steady ongoing work. But unfortunately, they shifted towards some other work. So back again to freelancing. I've been searching for some good agencies that can provide with constant work or clients. Tried using LinkedIn, Facebook, and Reddit. However, no success. Being agency owners, what would you recommend? Where to start? What am I doing wrong? How to approach an agency to get hired permanent, or at least get constant outsourced work? All right, so I'm going to tell you something. I'm on the receiving end of a lot of people pitching me, I want to work for you, with you, partner with you. In fact, I get several a day, every day. So I have a lot of options to like choose people if I want to. And I'll tell you, there's a couple of mistakes people make, okay? So I'll tell you the biggest mistake is they give me the whole menu of shit that they can potentially do. And I'll tell you why this is a problem. Besides that, it's like generalist positioning. It's like low value positioning. You're probably not going to make very much money doing it. it puts the onus on me, the person figuring it out, to decide how we would work together. Like I don't know you, I don't know your skills, I don't know what you're particularly good at. So if you make me have to figure it out, that's already too much work. I already got too much shit going on. Like it immediately goes into the, next sort of pile. And that's very different if somebody just brings you one specific thing. So I had somebody successfully, by the way, pitch me where they said, hey, I want to redesign the landing page for your book funnel. I think if you did these graphics, it would crush it a lot more. And then they sent me an example of what they had in mind. And I was like, fuck, that's a no-brainer, right? Like, let's do it. So I share that with you guys because one of the first things people make as a giant mistake is they tell people, I can do 10,000 things, instead of just showing up with, I have one clear idea based on what you guys do. And in order for that idea to be clear, you have to do 2 minutes of research on the person you're talking to. So that's one thing. Here's another thing. Secondly, your target market, if you want to like be a virtual assistant for an agency, is not any agency. Not all agencies hire virtual assistants. Many of them are one-person operations. Many of them prefer to hire domestic people. There's all kinds of reasons why not everybody has virtual assistants. So you have to really think about hyper-focusing on the ones that do. And so, one of the questions I might ask, if I really want to know, is for those of you guys who are hiring virtual assistants, where do you find them? Right? And I would go to those places, and I'm sure I can give you some of those places, like onlinejobs.ph being one of those. Freelancing sites like Upwork, different like Facebook communities geared towards virtual assistants, Craigslist, right? So I would ask them, like, where are you hiring your virtual assistants? Because that's where you need to be, is wherever the people hiring are. It sounds simple, but like if I wanted to meet a golfer, I should probably drive to the golf course. If I want to meet an agency owner hiring, I should go to where they hire people. Again, simple. Third thing, okay? So you have to look the part. Somebody else mentioned this. I think Eddie mentioned it on your post. He said, like I click your profile, it lists 17 different things and it's locked and I can't see anything about you. And you're from one of the countries that is notorious for having a bunch of scammers. That immediately triggers this person is a scammer vibe, instead of just like, again, like if you're going to go meet golfers, you got to look like a golfer. So you got to look like somebody, optimize your profile for somebody who is an agency owner looking to hire. So when they click on your thing, it looks like you can actually help them with that thing, right? So if you're going to pitch them on Facebook ads, you should look like a person who has some specialized help in Facebook ads or whatever it is you want to pitch them on, which leads me to my fourth thing. Whenever people are trying to get hired, I'll tell you the biggest thing that it takes a mental shift, and I only really learned this after like many, many years of being an entrepreneur, is they're simply just not proactive enough about the process. And the biggest thing that will show an employer that you can actually help them is just to demonstrate you can help them. So I gave you the answer earlier, right? If the person I mentioned who successfully pitched me had messaged me a whole menu and said, well, I know how to do content optimization, I'm good with ChatGPT, I know a little bit of programming, I can repurpose stuff for you, I got a little bit of video editing, how would you like to use me? That's not nearly as valuable if they say, hey, I was looking at your book funnel page and I redesigned it because I think you can sell some more books this way. Is there any way we could work together on this? Right? They've already demonstrated they can fucking help me by doing like 10 minutes of upfront work, right? So to me, if you wanted to distinguish yourself apart from like 10,000 other candidates, demonstrate by doing a little small task for them that shows them I actually know how to do the thing I'm pitching you on. It sounds ridiculously small, but like people don't do this, right? So like what most people do, because they're in the mentality of like the poor and middle class, is you give somebody a resume and a cover letter and then you fucking wait and you hope they pick you, right? So that's the mentality you have to break, is that you're in this idea that they control the whole thing, right? Instead of giving people resume and cover letters and having to make them interview you 17 times, just do something that takes 10 minutes to show them, I know how to help you. This is what I would do. What do you think? Right? Like you'll get so much further along with that. And by the way, if you want to follow up with power, do that 2-3 more times. It'll be impossible. Like I think about this, like I got hired for a supervisor job back in Ford when I was like 19 years old, and I worked there for like 3.5 years. And I remember I got in because of my school grades, but knowing what I know now, if I wanted to go back and get that job, I would like I knew what they were trying to do. They were trying to improve the plant quality and things like that. So like I would have start saying, here's the first 3 things I want to work on after we start getting hired, and I would start demonstrating like a real tangible plan of action of how I'm going to make them look good. And I would follow up with that, and they would never pick another candidate in a million years, grades or otherwise. So I say that to you because, man, most people like, they cold pitch somebody and then they sit and fucking wait because they're in the mentality that the other person controls all the things. But for one, like I said, you got to focus on the people that are actually hiring, and you have to look the part, and you have to give them something specific and tangible, and then you have to demonstrate it. By the way, that's the process for getting hired for agency services too, just so you know, right? Like if you wanted to sell your own thing to end user clients, it's the same kind of thing, right? So like I said, like what most people do is like, here's the 15, 20 things I can do. Now sit and wait, hope they call me back, instead of just like one clear, tangible demonstration. I know how to help you. Here's how I'm going to do it. So night and day difference, by the way, between those two things, right? Like it'd be like if I knocked on somebody's door, like say I was trying to get hired for mowing lawns. Imagine I like knock on the door and I hand them my cover letter and resume and go, call me back if you feel like it. I can do 27 things around the house. Versus like, hey, I can help you mow your lawn for $20, and just so you can see what it's like, I mowed your neighbor's lawn just as a courtesy to them just a minute ago, and you can see exactly my work right over there. Would you like to work together? It's going to be so much easier to get a lawn cutting job than to give somebody a resume of here's 17 things we could do. So I'm rambling a little bit, but I want this to be helpful to all you guys. And by the way, this is the process for, like I said, for getting quote unquote hired for anything, right? Is like, clear and specific. Make sure you're talking to the ones who are actively spending money, and have a clear and specific way you can help them and fucking demonstrate it. Oh, by the way, Facebook's doing that thing. I don't see your comments and shit, but I know you guys are there. All right. Let's talk our man Swapna. That's a cool name. You guys are on the different name train today. Let's go with Swapna. It says, hello. I've been helping a chiropractor with email marketing. They haven't done any email communication before this, except for appointment confirmation, and even that ended up in spam. It's been 3 months, and the first newsletter, they got 2 appointments. I ran a nurture campaign for patients who haven't seen them in 6 months. There were at least 2 appointments. I had segmented the audience based on the conditions they had seen them. I'm yet to fully look at the reports for the campaign. The third newsletter, I see 2 people clicked on the appointment booking link. I have to verify if they booked an appointment. There has been a resistance from the chiropractor's front office about email marketing in general and in terms of incentive they offered for the old patients. I think the next one coming my way is the newsletter not getting enough traction. I've been in corporate for 8+ years in marketing and don't believe newsletters for lead generation. What should I tell? How should I handle this? My pricing is pretty much peanuts since I'm just getting started. All right. So firstly, kudos. For those of you guys who are just getting started and you're out there actually like trying shit for clients, I give you guys a big thumbs up, because it's one thing to think about this business on the sideline. It's another thing to get in the trenches. Now, I'm going to tell you something that I really wish I knew 10, 20 years ago. So you're talking about doing email newsletter, okay? So what is the thing that makes the email newsletter work the most? And it's not what most marketers think, by the way. Most marketers think subject lines, offers, copy, images, no images, those kind of things. And I'm not saying all those things don't matter, but the number one thing that actually, especially for a local business, that makes an email newsletter to their past customers work or not work is the relationship they already have with that business. I'll give you an example, okay? Imagine we go to a restaurant, and at the start of a meal, they're good marketers, so they say, hey, you get 10% off on your meal if you give us your WhatsApp, right? Like that's a thing in Mexico, right? So we get on a maybe not an, or let's say an email, just because in your case you're doing an email list. So they get us on an email list. They say, hey, we'll give you 10% off if you join our email list. We join. Then we wait 2 hours for our meal, and it's the worst food. You can tell it's like old, it's kind of rotten, and I can't even finish it. And then we tell the manager about it, and the manager says, well, it's your problem. You guys got to pay full price. So we pay full price, waiting 2 hours for bad service that we didn't even eat. Now, my question to you is, what email are they going to send to us to get us to come back? And the answer is, there ain't no fucking email on God's green earth. Other than, hey, we're really sorry, we heard about this whole thing. Is there any way we could just comp you and give you a free meal to show you, hey, we fired that old crappy manager, this is a different place, we're fixing those issues, it was an honest mistake, and I want to show you that you're valued. There's not many emails is point. Flip side of that is, imagine we went there, they said 10% off, and we joined, and then we had a fucking rock star meal, and then we get an email 2 days later, hey, we want to have you guys come back. That's going to be the easiest sell in the world. So even before subject lines and offer and images, the first thing people look at is who is sending me the email. Okay? So I say this to you because there's a lot of stress. Obviously, this is a first client. It sounds like you don't want to screw it up. You want to get the best results possible. You're looking at all the numbers. And the actual biggest thing that matters is the relationship the chiropractor has with the people he's emailing. Or the lack of it, right? Like if he's not super friendly or whatever. So I say that to you because you're doing all right. Now, as far as like strategy, I'll just give you the formula that's worked the best for us. When you contact people you haven't contacted in a long time, is you say, hey, we miss you. Sorry we haven't been in touch, but been working on some cool things behind the scenes, and I want to do something special to bring you back, which is why I put together the special offer. And in your case, if they're past clients, I wouldn't think small like a one-off session. I would think big, like come get a package of 12 and get a full adjustment for the next 3 months. For the price of 10 sessions, you can get 12, right? Like that kind of thing. So I say that to you because chances are you're doing all right, but from a strategy point, if I probably looked at it, because you mentioned like nurture, you're probably not making enough offers in those things to invite people back. And you should be. And a lot of times we think if we make offers, they're going to hate us, but it's all like tactfully how you do it. And I always say the right way to make offers is more akin to inviting people than it is to selling them. So it's just like, hey, we want to do something cool to win you back. That's why we're inviting you to our end of summer special. It's still summer here, so I'm thinking summer. It's still hot as balls where I'm at. Not for the rest of you guys, but come on in for our welcome back after school 12 sessions for the price of 10 kind of thing, limited time offer. And if they don't take it, I would still email them again another offer next week or the week after that, right? So chances are you're probably you're doing a good job nurturing them. But I'll tell you, too many times people try and be too cute about this, and what ends up happening is they sell nothing. So I've seen lawyers where they send emails, newsletters that are like HR 175 bill just passed in Congress today. And what ends up happening is they actually tune people out from listening to them at all, right? Like if they've already paid that person once, it can be as simple as hey, a lot of you guys told us you got knee pain. We got a special package we put together for knee pain. Come on in and I'll show you how to at least improve it in 3 sessions. Right? Like that's a fucking email right there. So don't try to be too cute and nurture them forever. Like I always say, 95% of my stuff has an invite to work together or to take the next step. And that's how you want it to be, my friend. So anyways, I hope that's helpful with your email newsletter situation. This one is great. Another Frankie, by the way. Spelled the same, not with a Y. So we're cool as fuck. Frankie says, how many sales calls are you getting on in a day? How are you setting them? What do you do to set more calls in between your scheduled calls? Okay. I want to deprogram, maybe debunk is not the right word. Deprogram the whole line of thought in this question, okay? So I understand why. Obviously you probably want it, you're in the earlier stages, you want to make a bunch of money, you want to get a bunch of clients, and that's tied to how many qualified opportunities you get in front of, in your case, through calls. Although I would just say, as a little aside, most clients don't want sales calls any more than most of you guys want to do them, which is why I found out the minute we switched to closing over video, like life got easier. Like I just had a conversation with a dude who told me he's been trying to sync up with this really busy client for like 5 months, and he can't get him on a call just to seal the deal. They've agreed to everything verbally. I was like, send a fucking video. The deal was done as soon as he sent the video, right? So you don't have to do all this fucking chasing and working. And I hear stories like that all the time where clients are busy and there's lots of back and forth, and and trying to sync up schedules is a nightmare just to do an hour call. Or you could send them a 5-minute video and say, check it out when you want. So that's a little aside. Okay, so I'm going to take you back 5 years ago when I still did calls. Okay. And I've tried a lot of different formulas for calls, including hiring teams of salespeople and things like that, which are very, very hard to find, train, keep, all of those things, but can be done. So the first thing I want to tell you something is that not all sales calls are created equal. I really can't illustrate this point enough, because if I said to you, I had 100 calls on the calendar last month, and I had 6 on the calendar this month, which one would you say is better instinctively? Obviously the 100. And I'm giving you numbers from a real life scenario that I personally went through. So we had a funnel, and it was 1 step long, and said basically, watch this thing, and if it makes sense to you, book a call. And we had hundreds and hundreds of calls. Okay? And I can actually remember one of the calls I booked with somebody in Australia. And they obviously read the time on the calendar wrong, and they go, what the fuck are you doing calling me in the middle of the fucking night, blah, 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 you cocksucking motherfucker, and then hung up on me. And they didn't even remember who I was or what it was for and all of that. And so I think there are 2 hidden metrics on a call. First is what I would call temperature, okay? Temperature is, if you can measure out of 10, 1 being like, I don't know who you are or why I'd even want this or what this is about, to a 10, like, I'm going to give this person money no matter what I do here, okay? I would suggest to you that you should never do a call with anybody who's less than a 7. And if you don't have people who are a 7, it means you need more stuff out there in the world. I'll tell you why. Like, give you an example, okay? We used to do webinars back in the day. I could simultaneously warm up 100 lawyers to a 7 on one single webinar. If I did that with calls, it would take an hour with each person, right? So that's like 99 extra hours of life that I have to invest, and it's not any more efficient, by the way. So if you're getting people who are less than a 7, it means to me you need to do more marketing, more pre-selling, more getting in people's heads and showing them your stuff so that by the time they talk to you, they're a 7. Now, second hidden metric in a call, and it's a very simple thing. They call it qualified, but what qualified means to me is this the right person standing across from me? Because a lot of times if they're the right fit, the sale is almost downhill because it just makes sense to go together, right? Like imagine I'll give you a dating example. 2 friends, they were both really into tennis, and they both said, I really want to meet somebody who's also into tennis. And then they met at the tennis club, right? That's an easy fucking close. Oh, you're into tennis? I'm into tennis. We should hang out and talk about and play tennis, right? So the more they're the right fit, the more the close is going to be natural, downhill, and easy. The more they're not, So let me tell you, like, just my own scenario. I had a scenario where we were booking 100 to 200 calls per month, every month. And by the way, most of those people were no warmer than a 3. And I'd say about 80 to 90% of them were broke and unqualified. So if I told you I was booking 200 calls or 100 calls last month, it fluctuated between them. It wasn't linear. 100 to 200 calls, you would say, Frankie, you're crushing it with Facebook ads. And yet, I just spent all day on calls getting nowhere. Then, fast forward, and we ended up doing more like what I would call pre-selling and qualifying and things like that. And the very next month, I only had 6 calls. And, by the way, I closed all 6 of them. And they were all like awesome clients. So I share that with you because if you look at the surface level, 100 to 200 calls the month before and 6 the next, and I asked you, which month was a better month? If your only focus was on booked calls, you would say the first month is significantly better. In reality, the second month was way better for two reasons. One, warmer temperature, right? We don't want to try and convince complete strangers off the street to buy our shit. They should at least know something about who you are, what you do, around what you charge for what you do before they even are allowed to schedule a call. And then secondly, like the right fit. When we had 6 right fit calls, like we were actually doing better. And for me, the magic of it was the 194 hours on my fucking calendar, you know, that wasn't there, that I was literally some days doing 10, 12 hours of calls, like fucking straight, just fucking 12 hours of calls. Don't recommend it, by the way. So I say that to you because you don't need a fucking jam-pack. Even if you're doing calls, the point of the getting calls is not to have as many of them as possible, is to get at least a 7 out of 10 who's qualified. And then as far as that, almost always the way to get that is to do more fucking marketing to whatever you're driving and add more qualifying steps in the process. Right? So I'll give you an example of what qualifying is, just so you guys can wrap your head around. How can you tell if someone's qualified and motivated and those kind of things? Here's one small example, okay? I had a friend who was really, really good in the very early days of running Facebook ads, and they ran a funnel where they were booking 40 calls a day, and they couldn't hire salespeople fast enough to take the calls. And so they were like literally missing like 38 calls a day, and they were just like buying leads and throwing them away. So then he decided, what can we do about this? Because we can't find a salesperson fast enough to call all these leads and stuff like that. So what he did is he simply added a second qualification step that said, if you really, really want to talk to someone right now, fill out this extra form and we'll have somebody call you right away. And then what he found is those were the most motivated people who were the most likely to buy. And they only called those people back until they were able to find a salesperson. And even when they found a salesperson, those were the leads that converted the best. So by simply adding an extra step. So there's a tendency to think, get as many people on calls as possible. But if you make them jump through another step where they really, really want to be on that call, they're far more likely to buy, and it saves you less time of trying to make a pitch. So I want you to think about this, because at the upper echelons of agency life, the thing people guard and protect the most is their time, not their money, right? Like you're thinking about it, how can I make the most money? Ergo, more calls equals more money. But in actuality, the way you make more money is you have more leverage on your time, right? Because inevitably you will run out of time to be able to do calls. And yet, like I said, if I'm driving people to a webinar, I can pre-sell 100 of them at the same time, and then I can find out which are the 5 or 10 that are that most want to buy it by the end of it. And now I'm only talking to the 5 or 10 that are like the most interested in it, right? So I don't want you guys to think about like, I need more calls. You need to get the right people who are at least familiar with you and what you do, and then you're going to do really, really well with your booked calls. All right. And by the way, there's a couple of ways that we've done that. Facebook ads work, webinars as mentioned, speaking on stage, content, like publish some shit, especially YouTube is my favorite place to publish. Anyways, I won't go too deep into that just because we're kind of getting off on a tangent here. But I hope that's helpful for like don't just think about how do I get calls, like get the right calls. Because by the way, like I had calls that went like this: I'm on welfare and I'm broke, and I don't know. This is supposed to be for business owners. I don't have a business. And you're like okay, you already know you're not going to close with that person in the first 2 seconds of the call. Versus, I've had calls. They went, "Hey, we just saw you speak at the National Trial Lawyers. To be honest, we're not even sure what you sell, but we came here to buy it. We got a really good recommendation from so and so. How do we work together?" Right? Like, which one of those calls do you think those are equal calls? They're not. And by the way, you can do all that in video and make video you do the prospecting, which is way more fun. I have a belief, by the way. You guys don't have to adopt my belief, but I believe the hardest working person in your business should be digital you. And digital me is a fucking beast, by the way. He is making pitches. He's talking to people. He's engaging in conversations. Putting shit out there. 24/7, 365. Real me? Lazy fuck. I played with my kids till like 10:30 this morning. We didn't do dick fuck all. We played some search and find books, and I chased the kids around the house, and we had some sword fighting. We built a little house. That was my morning. That whole time, digital me was working. Like, I'm putting in the hours even when I'm not putting in the hours. So for you, the reason why I'm so big on video closing and all these kind of things that you guys can do is because it detaches your time from your income, which is the real win. Then you have more leverage on your ability to make money, because as mentioned, you're going to run out of time to do calls, and you'll get burnt out. Like, I haven't met anybody who did a shit ton of calls that didn't get burnt out at some point. All right, enough about that. We got Caden says, hey everyone, I'm running meta ads for one of my home services clients. We started in August and the ads killed it for about 3 weeks. We slowed down within the last week, so I replaced creatives. Our funnel is meta ad to lead form. The new creatives did well for a few days and dropped off. What's weird is the CTR and link click-through was still high. So about 5 days ago, I edited my form and reduced a few questions and any friction points. I added some new ad creatives to the mix, and the same thing. We had a good first 3 days, and then so it dropped off, and now we haven't had a lead in 3 days. What's weird, once again, is that the CTR and the link CTR is high, so we're getting clicks and engagements, but no leads for some reason. I'm using the same offer and ad copy we ran in pretty much the same form, which is one less question. The audience is the same too. I'm really stuck on what this could be and how I can fix it. Has anyone experienced this? How do I fix it and get out of this slump? All right, Caden, so a couple of things that you should know, okay? Firstly, this is Facebook ads, what you just described, okay? This is Facebook ads. Welcome to the game of Facebook ads. And what I mean by that is, I have some YouTube ads. YouTube ads in some ways are harder, but I'll tell you in this one aspect, they're easier, which is often once you figure out a creative that works, they're kind of set and forget it. Like, I have YouTube ads, like I had a little auction sort of offer, and I haven't touched those ads in like 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. Like, I literally don't fucking do anything. Nothing. Don't touch them, don't update them. Facebook ads are the opposite of set and forget it. Meta ads, I guess I should say. Okay, so that means they work for 3 days, they fall off a fucking cliff, and blah, blah, blah. And so I'll tell you, the only thing that really brings stability to that is to have a process for how you adjust creatives. And I'll tell you kind of just a little bit about ours that we've used for years. This is obviously just our way. I never like to be like militant or almost like a religious zealot where I go, this is how Frankie Fihn does it, so you all should do it the same way I do. But I'll tell you two scenarios where we had to do kind of the same thing you're describing. So scenario number one is I was running my own ads funnel. This is for us to generate clients to like webinars, and we had some follow-up and things like that. But when we had that set up, typically, like, the audience size, I remember, like, this was earlier days of Facebook, but like the audience size was like 80,000. And so what would happen is, and half of those people don't even log into Facebook. So when you're advertising to like 40, 50,000 people, after like a week or two, everybody's seen your ad. And so we had to constantly cycle ad creatives every week or 2 or 3. And a lot of it, what we were doing is just different images and different like sort of frosting on the same cupcake. It's not like we had to change the overall plan. But we had to like systematically cycle it because, you know, after everybody's seen your ad 10 times, they go ad blindness, and then you got to switch and show them something else 10 more times. And again, it was usually just a different image. It wasn't like we did totally different shit. But I share that with you because you have to have a systematic way of like cycling, because Facebook ads are exactly as you described. They go off a cliff. They're working. No, they're not. Right, and that's a big part of it. Secondly, we were running a funnel for many years for like our motorcycle clients, and this was a big pain point in me because I was trying to systematize our agency, and I couldn't figure out how to remove myself from the decision making on Facebook ads. And eventually, I came to realize that the answer was something I learned in programming school. Like, we had to take one programming class back in, I say college, but everybody else outside of America, we call that university. And I remember the programming class. I actually hated it. I was forced to take it. But I remember there was a section in there. We created something called if then else statements. And if then else statements basically just described what you do in all the scenarios. So the teacher gave us an example. He said, if the kid gets between 90 and 100, if 90 to 100 equals A. If between 80 and 90 equals B. If between, 70 and 80 equals C. And it just went through and gave the different grades. And then else, if they got below 50%, give them an F, right? So this is how I kind of programmed our SOP logic with Facebook ads is like every 2-3 days I'd have my team go in and they would check the numbers. And if we're getting lead cost for this and it's working, when it's working, leave it the fuck alone. If it goes up, like what I would call starting to go out of spec, we'd say change the image. And if it was out of spec, like let's launch a new creative. And so what would happen is my team would go in 2-3 times a week and they would check. These are the stats. Okay, leave it alone. It's working. Let's keep it running. This one right here, it's starting to go out of spec. Let's change this. And we had a systematic way of dealing with that. I say that because Facebook ads are never going to be linear for you. Ever in a million years. And then the other thing that most people don't think about in Facebook ads, because I'm in a lot of like different ad groups. I'm in Google ads groups. I'm in Facebook ads groups. Almost always when your ads present a problem, meaning they're starting to go out of spec or they're not working, or in your case, like they were working one day, they're not the next, which is normal, by the way. But when that starts to happen, there is a tendency to kind of think the solution is a technical thing. So I see this all the time in groups. They'll say, oh, try this conversion campaign setting and try, only duplicating it by this and try resetting the algorithm that. And I'm not saying those things aren't good advice, but I don't think they're the 80-20 of it, because I think the biggest thing people forget is ads are a vehicle to reach a person on the other side of a fucking screen, right? This is not like we're not just clicking an ad button to like, to please an algorithm. There's a fucking human being who, in your case, if they're home services, they're a fucking homeowner and they have homeowner problems. And so to me, what I focus on there is how can I make my offer even better, or in this case, my client's offer even better, because it'll make the whole ad work better as well. If like that's the biggest leverage point. And to illustrate, by the way, the difference between the power, because I believe having a great offer trumps all sorts of copy and salesmanship, and most people in our space don't really talk about this. But let's imagine we got two copywriters, and one of them is average and has ChatGPT, right, or Claude, or whatever the fuck they're using. Okay, another person is like one of the all-time great copywriters, and they both get hired by two clients, and their job is, I want you to go get this guy a date, okay? So let's take the second copywriter, the real pro. The real pro is given someone who is 400 pounds, has a skin condition, is socially awkward, literally lives in their parents' basement, hasn't seen their own dick in like a decade, and smells because they can't shower. Okay? Now you give them the best copywriter in the world. They can, write the coolest ad or whatever, okay? Second person, average copywriter, they get a GQ model, owns his own yacht, has 3 different businesses, is very good looking, loves puppies, is fun, and is charming. My question to you is, who's going to write a better ad? And it ain't the better copywriter, it's the person with a better offer, right? Like, ultimately, the GQ guy, at least for dating standards, is a better fucking offer. So I say that because, people love to fuck with the algorithm, and they love to, duplicate campaigns and try conversion settings, but what they never fucking try and do is, how can I make this offer even better to a homeowner so they can't possibly say no? And almost always, either your promise changes or your bonuses get better, and in doing so, you're going to sell more stuff than the person. Almost always, by the way, if I meet 2 marketers that run ads, and one of them is obsessed about the technical stuff, and one of them is obsessed about offers, angles, and persuasion stuff that hasn't changed in 100 years, almost always the persuasion one's going to kick some fucking ass, just so you know. So I'm sharing that with you because, Like, make sure you're optimizing the right thing. But just so you know, a lot of the stuff you said, is anyone else experiencing this? And this is the most normal thing in the world in Facebook ads. They're like the opposite of set and forget it. They're like tweak them every fucking 2-3 days because you have to. And you have to stay on top of them because and part of the reason is the nature of the platform, right? Facebook is designed for that quick 1-2-3 hour dopamine hit, and then whatever post was exciting a minute ago is no longer exciting, right? So I say that just because, like, your ads function the same way. They're going to have short spikes of attention, and then they're going to be like, yeah, I already saw that. That's not interesting. Scroll past it. Like, people are constantly looking to Facebook to hear something new, which is, by the way, why I said, YouTube ads have other challenges, but, you can use YouTube ads and things like that because a lot of times it's a different thing. Like, people are coming to YouTube with the same problems over and over, so the same content can be pleasing, ergo you can run the same ads for a long fucking time, including like 3 years without touching them. So I hope that makes sense of that, but just understand what you're dealing with Facebook ads is a normal part of dealing with Facebook ads. It's the most normal thing in the world. Anywho, that looks like all the questions. As I mentioned, Facebook's doing that thing. I don't see your comments until after, but I appreciate all you guys. And by the way, if you guys haven't had a chat with our AI assistant about working together, we got a couple of cool programs. For those of you guys who are beginning, we got our fast starters. For those of you guys a little more advanced looking to scale, we got the old Wolf Pack Mastermind, and we got lots of other like courses and trainings and tools and swipe files. So if you guys haven't had a chance, I would say just talk to our AI. It's not a sales agent. It's just designed to ask you about what you're trying to do and say, this is the best thing we offer for somebody who's trying to do that. And then you can check it out on your own. Like, there's no programmed follow-up or chase or hard sell. I don't even do hard sells anymore, but it's designed just to match make you. Part of the reason I created it, just so you guys know, is because people ask me, they say, I want to get your help. What should I buy? And I got like 24, 25 different products, just so you guys know at this point. So I say that because rather than trying to, figure it out, like, just talk to the AI that's programmed on all the products, and then, it'll help you pick the one that's right for you. So if you haven't already done that, chat with that bad boy. It's free, by the way. And that's all I got for you guys in this one. Happy Monday. May the force be with you. Appreciate you guys, and thanks for the swag, Lana. Much love.
Buy my book or I will replace your favorite shampoo with nothing but pure maple syrup because I'm Canadian as fuck.